It is Mother's Day. Baby and I are preparing his mom's breakfast while she's out and about. And I want to take a couple of minutes just to talk to you about how powerful the presence of women is in the workplace. Now, if you do a survey of employment protections for the entire society, but particularly for women in Europe, particularly the Scandinavian countries, Germany even, there is such a concern for the well-being of women, both in terms of bringing a child into the world and for her to return to the economic space and continue to propel her career while supporting a family. That does not happen here in the United States. Our flowers are wilting in the United States when it comes to protections for women in the workplace. Now, mind you, the Me Too movement did establish a lot of protections for sexual harassment, and it allowed for employees and lawyers to go and get the records of complaints of harassment by other people that other women might have complained about, or other men, about people higher than them, so we could get all the stories together. But if you get pregnant in the United States and you have a job, it is a very, very high likelihood that you will be marked for a termination of some sort when you take any protected leave, even if it's legally entitled to you. And that's the brass tacks facts, right? That's exactly what's really going on behind the scenes. You and I need to understand that just because they mark us that way doesn't mean that we can't set up the file to make it unmistakably clear that mothers returning to work have a major lawsuit that they could file if the employer doesn't give them their job back, or at least a similar job at the same pay scale. That's the system. And just like these green peppers, I don't know if this is extremely spicy or not. Like sometimes they're sweet and sometimes they're spicy. It's kind of like trying to pick the right employer for you and your family. Once you realize and bite in that this office is spicy and not forgiving, it's probably the time to leave that company and to stop investing with them, because you've got to be able to ask people questions about how was the person immediately preceding you in the role treated when X happened or Y happened. And you'll get that office gossip like really quick. Trust it, believe in it. Don't think they'll act differently with you, right? And here on Mother's Day, when we're trying to really celebrate everything that women bring to our world, but particularly mothers, I just, as an employment lawyer, I acknowledge you, I affirm you. And if the workplace is sweet, and they treat you sweetly, and they treat other people sweetly, then trust that. And if it's not sweet, and if it's really spicy, if you don't want to take another bite, then leave, drop it, keep it moving, find another job. Because when your time comes, it's not gonna be any different, all right? Trust the stories of other women, listen to them. And if you're a guy in those workplaces, remember what's going on, pay attention, and be able to be at least a messenger for your colleagues as they're coming through the system. The transactional nature of employment needs to change, because what we are creating is ourselves within the workplace. We are creating our families, we are developing our minds, and we're allowing ourselves to grow while in service to these corporate entities. And yeah, they're not human beings, but they are run by human beings. Human beings, men who should know better, right? And they do know better. And that's why juries are very comfortable punishing people who violate the rights of pregnant women or new mothers. And I, in particular, really do enjoy those cases, and not just those around childbirth, but those around the interests of the truly underserved in our workplaces, which are predominantly women, right? Not because women are inferior in any way, but because men in positions of power and women in positions of power are often okay with targeting the most vulnerable populations that they should be serving. I mean, without the presence of a working mother in an office space, how are you going to get a 22-year-old guy who just got hired out of undergrad to appreciate how and what leadership can look like, can feel like, can sound like? I remember my first internships out of college or jobs. It was these dynamic women, like, in their 30s and 40s, who were raising the families and who were basically raising me in the office, right? And telling me what to do, but with empathy, with care, in a way that none of the dudes were doing. Without women in the workplace, okay, not just to serve the dummy men, but also to serve themselves and keep their careers going. Just like societally, everything is impacted when you have women in the workplace. Every ingredient really does matter, right? And they need to be different. You need to have your green sweet peppers, right? And your red diced tomatoes. They're very different things. Yeah, I did just drop a tomato on the floor. That are important to make this dish so delicious and special. And I'm not a professional chef, but you don't need to be a professional chef. You don't need to be a CEO or director of HR to know that a dynamic workplace is a diverse workplace. And not just diverse in ethnicity, diverse in life experiences and what's going on at home. So happy Mother's Day to all of those moms out there. Yeah, maybe a little bit more garnish. Maybe it could be more perfect. But let's just make sure that the workplace is decent, tasty, and fun for everybody, not just for the dudes.